Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore, and thank you so much for joining me today. So, in one of my recent videos, I briefly mentioned Pluto's retrograde in Aquarius, which will be happening today within a couple of hours of me recording this video. Now, when I mentioned it, I sort of downplayed it a tiny bit, and the only reason why I did is because there's been so much more powerful activations recently, and of course everything we've been through in the last month and a half. But after meditating and actually listening to a pretty profound astrologer I love to listen to, he pretty much gave me a new perspective on this particular Pluto at retrograde, and I was very appreciative of his words and his perspective. Now, we have to remember Pluto in Aquarius is massive, and it's going to change the world. And we also have to remember that Jupiter-Uranus's recent conjunction in Taurus was also a setup to change the world in some way. And the reason why I say that, and listen, I think sometimes when astrologers make videos and stuff, they kind of like hype up every transit like it's going to be the next life-changing thing. That's not really the case. We do literally feel all astrology, whether we know it or not, because it's both conscious and unconscious, and it just depends on your sensitivity and your awareness to astrology. But we are in a life-changing moment right now, and in a couple of years, there's going to be so many major shifts into signs that have never happened before in human history. And astrologer Steve Judd spoke about this recently, actually. With Neptune going into Aries, with Saturn going into Aries as well, Jupiter going into Gemini, and Pluto finally sitting in Aquarius for some time when it finally doesn't retrograde back into Capricorn, which will only do once more this year. According to him, when he's done his history and his homework, these shifts in this particular way have never happened before. Those major big planets anchoring themselves into new energies and frequencies at a time right now where there's so much going on in the collective, and within our own lives, because we are one with the collective. We are sucked into the vortex of whatever goes on in the world. We're forced into that. And that's just the name of the game we're playing right now. And this is not a fearmonger thing at all, but we have to be ready for a lot of things to change, guys. And every generation, and every 100 years actually too, there's major changes, where we don't even recognize a world that existed before. But like all evolution in human history and planetary histories, after things change, they end up stabilizing in some way, shape, or form. It's just the turbulence that's unknown, and astrology can never predict exactly what will occur. But we can look at patterns and understand, like, there's certain things that will occur in the world. And the sad thing is if more people accepted astrology and understood it in a professional sense, not a sun sign astrology sense where, the fluffy, what's your sun sign? Like, no, real astrology is so much deeper, and so much more specific. Like Uranus going to Gemini is going to really set the stage for if we go into massive war or not, just to say it flat out and clear. But it also will be amazing for innovations in the way we communicate with each other. There'll be advancements in things that we wouldn't even imagine or can't imagine now. But will humanity abuse it or use it for the good? But again, none of us can truly see what that will look like. But we can already, we could already see its inclinations to, AI and, cyber stuff. And, again, I don't want to get into that conversation today. But, Pluto retrograde in Aquarius is very significant, because the way I see it now, and the way I always see retrogrades, is imagine a car going fast, and then they hit the brakes. When you hit the brakes, the moment you hit the brakes, you can get whiplash, and things just sort of manifest and just are sort of powerfully felt for a moment. And I think we're going to feel that moment today and in the coming days as it begins to slowly, retrograde back towards Capricorn, which in Capricorn is, we're dealing with all of the things that, especially the Pluto return of America. So this is very significant because if you've noticed on the world stage lately, there's been a lot of uprise and protest, and, Aquarius is all about collective ideals and transformation of societies and systems. And Pluto is such a transformational and transpersonal planet that it is going to demand transformation and change, innovation, and it could potentially even collapse structures to build new ones. And if you've watched lately, we're pretty much in the middle of a holy war again. And like I said in the last video, I mentioned, my distaste for fundamentalism, because if you really track back all human conflict, it really does all stem from, religious belief of some kind, fundamentalism, not the mystical spiritual essence of what the religion really is all about, but just the control about that. So that has always started war and conflict. And then politics has put their will upon that, which is why we see countries now, doing what they do. And then the people suffer from that. And it's unfortunate that no one knows any better, the truth behind the divine, or whatever you want to call it. But Pluto in Aquarius is going to, we're going to feel this breaking. If you've noticed, Mars now is in Aries, and violence is now taking center stage in the protests, in the college campus world. So violence is now escalating. I predicted this, violence will escalate in some way, shape, or form. And then Jupiter, Uranus, which we're still feeling, that conjunction. They're only 2 degrees away from each other. And in my opinion, until they get to about 5 degrees away from each other, and once Jupiter gets into Gemini, then we'll kind of like stop seeing the strength of those two. But understand, Jupiter is also the guru of religion and philosophy and expands knowledge and wisdom. So that's also a major signification of, like, again, Jews versus Palestinians. We're dealing with this explosion of beliefs and ideologies, and yes, the right and wrong of things, and people who thinks who's right or wrong. We're dealing with this chaotic Uranian moment where Jupiter is super influencing Pluto and Aquarius, which this is all tying into the bigger story. So these outer planets really tell the story of the bigger story. We really see the events on the world stage play out with the outer planets, because I imagine them as the ethereal collective essence of our collective consciousness. And we will always see those themes play out majorly on the world stage. And yes, in our lives too, of course. And with Mars in Aries, the violence is now beginning. How long will this last? From both sides, both from the law and from protesters. We could see more war violence escalate. But Pluto is stationing retrograde, which means we are going to stop short. We are going to feel some whiplash, and then we will going to digress, going back towards Capricorn. And yeah, things may ease off, things may simmer down a bit with Pluto kind of tracking backwards away from some of the Aquarian, ideals and themes that are going to ultimately just move full steam ahead, within the next couple, the next decade or more. So that's why Pluto retrograde is important today and worth mentioning. So I hope all that makes sense, guys. Now, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, I don't know if I want to make any more videos on that, but we have to understand. We just anchored into the ground something major. I think these protests have a lot to do with that as well. This is another manifestation of that. The Uranus is, about rebellion and change and, sporadic and electric, unpredictable behaviors and things going on, unpredictable inventions and revelations. Protest fits right in with that. And Jupiter is all about religion, one major aspect of it, beliefs, expanding a belief, expanding what one believes in. And that's massive. And then Saturn being in Pisces, again, we're dealing with a very spiritual and a very holy, enlightened and transcendent, sign as well. And Saturn is a planet of fundamentalism, of strict belief as well. Restrictions of one's will and one's freedom, so to speak. No matter what side you want to play it on, it affects everyone in their own unique experience. So Pluto stationing retrograde today is important because we're going to feel this, things may get a little sketchy in the next couple of days. But again, I feel on the more positive note, to overcome the challenges of any sort of, thing that seems to be going wrong in the world or in your life, or if any of these transits hit you in a more challenging way. We just have to realize that, we can deal with adversity any way we wish to. And with Pluto stationing retrograde and moving backwards, we can start to see the easing of some tension or some things that might have been a little too potent in the Aquarian part of your life. And we can learn to work with it and sort of just go, okay, we're going to go back a little bit. So, let's just use this. And once we get back into Capricorn, and then which will, end around the end of the year into next year, that's when Pluto will truly be in Aquarius for good. We can kind of prepare ourselves now, and sort of just get our center and find our, how we want to come to the world and stay grounded throughout all of this. And whatever's transpiring in your Aquarian part of your birth chart, because I'm sure you're going to be transforming in massive ways there. And yes, also Venus has been squaring Pluto in the last day. And today as well, I would say the conjunction will last, the essence of the conjunction will last for a couple of days. So again, we're dealing with themes of love and beauty and, just things that we feel super connected to that means a lot to us. So again, yeah, Venus has a ton of significations, but, just to have that square happening with Pluto, it's just a little bit of tension on, just this, the softness and the ease and the, what Venus really wants to be doing in Taurus, which it is doing by herself there. But the square to Pluto is just sort of like giving this little uncomfortableness to the Aquarian aspect of your life, because it really wants to add, Venus wants to show more love, to the Aquarian essence, but Pluto being there, squaring it and then going retrograde, there just might be a little bit of like, okay, there's some like tension in this beauty-ish, the beauty aspect of the way I want things to be, or maybe even some love conflict, or just things you care about conflict, just a little bit of tension, coming from that square. So I hope that makes sense, guys. That's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed this. If you stay to the end, thank you so much. Please like the video, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Sending you so much love.